Let me start by saying I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these posts. You read them thinking, damn, couldn't be me, and then life flips you on your back and says, surprise. My 33M wife, 31F, and I have been married for 6 years. We met at a mutual friend's engagement party and hit it off instantly. She was charming, witty, and had that kind of intense energy that makes you feel like you're the only person in the room. I was smitten. For a long time, I thought I hit the jackpot. Our relationship had the usual ups and downs, but over the past year, things started feeling off. At first, I chalked it up to stress. We were both busy, me with work, and she had just started her own wellness blog, full of yoga tips, smoothie recipes, and self-love mantras. Cute stuff, but she got real into it, to the point where I felt like I didn't exist anymore unless I fit into her aesthetic. She started being short with me. Cold. Snapping at me over small things like how I loaded the dishwasher or the way I folded laundry. Sex basically vanished unless it was on her schedule, and even then, it felt mechanical, like she was checking a box. I asked if everything was okay, and she'd say stuff like, "You're just paranoid," or, "God, stop being so insecure." Finally, after one particularly brutal weekend where we had 3 fights in 2 days, she suggested we try couples therapy. I agreed, even though the way she framed it rubbed me the wrong way. She said I needed a safe space to unpack my emotional immaturity. Yeah. Okay. But still, I loved her. I wanted to fix things. So I went into therapy with an open heart. That was my first mistake. So we started therapy. His name was Dr. Adrian Weller. Late 40s, artsy glasses, silver-streaked beard that looked like it had its own Instagram account. One of those calm, soft-spoken types who always tilts his head like he's watching a wounded bird try to fly. Honestly, he seemed fine at first. Neutral. Insightful. But my wife? She lit up every time we saw him. And I don't mean, "Oh, this is helpful," lit up. I mean laughing at every lame joke, touching her hair constantly, dressing up for sessions like she was going on a damn date. The same woman who wore sweats and a scrunchie to dinner with me was suddenly in makeup and heels for therapy. Call me crazy, but it didn't sit right. Still, I pushed the thought away. I told myself I was being jealous. Maybe she was just trying to take it seriously. Maybe she felt good dressing up. Whatever. But then, the sessions themselves started to feel off. I'd talk about how I felt unheard or disrespected, and Dr. Weller would gently redirect the conversation back to her. Like, "Let's explore what makes you feel that way, Marcus," and then boom, we're back to how I need to work on communication. Never mind that she was shutting me down, ignoring my needs, or belittling me. Somehow it always circled back to me being emotionally distant or unintentionally dismissive. It wasn't therapy. It was a slow character assassination, polished and professional, sure, but it was clear whose side he was on. Or rather, whose pants he was interested in. The breaking point came when we had a solo session each, one-on-one, to talk privately. After mine, I felt like I'd made some real progress. He told me I had a good heart and that he could see I was trying. I remember walking out thinking, okay, maybe this guy's not so bad after all. But something changed after that week. My wife's attitude flipped like a switch. She was suddenly smug, like she knew something I didn't. She started being extra flirty with him in sessions, subtle but obvious if you were paying attention. And yeah, I was paying attention now. Then one day, she accidentally called him Adrian in our kitchen. Not Dr. Weller. Not the therapist. Just Adrian. Like she knew him personally. Like they were friends. That was the moment the pit dropped in my stomach. Something was definitely going on. After the whole Adrian incident in the kitchen, I asked her, casually at first, why she used his first name. She brushed it off like it was nothing. Oh please, it just slipped out. We hear it in the office, it's not that deep. Right. Just a slip. Like her hand accidentally fell on his thigh too? I wanted to believe her. I really did. But my gut was screaming louder than ever. And once that gut feeling starts, it doesn't shut up until you find the truth, or go insane trying. So I started watching. Not stalking, just paying attention. She was suddenly getting busy a lot more. She'd leave early for her wellness meetups and come back smelling like cologne that definitely wasn't mine. She started locking her phone, a new habit, and one time, I walked past the bathroom while she was in the shower and saw her phone screen light up. A message preview popped up. It read, "Adrian Weller, thinking about last night. You looked incredible." My whole body locked up like I just walked into a snowstorm barefoot. I waited. Waited for her to come out, towel on, humming like nothing was wrong. I didn't say anything right away. Just stared at her, heart pounding like a drumline in my ears. I felt sick. Like, physically ill. The next day, when she left for another afternoon yoga session, I made a decision. I used our shared tablet, where she had her iCloud synced. She wasn't tech-savvy, and I'd helped her link it months ago. I hadn't even thought about it until now. Her messages were still syncing. And what I saw. It made my blood run cold. Texts from him. Pages and pages of flirty banter, emotional gushing, and straight-up sexting. There were even photos. I'll spare you the worst of it, but let's just say seeing your wife in lingerie on the therapist's couch isn't something you ever forget. They joked about me. About me. Called me emotionally flatlined and clueless. Apparently their little affair had been going on for weeks, right under my nose, while I sat in therapy trying to save our marriage. The irony? I was paying for the sessions. Paying for the room where they were hooking up after I left early. I sat there, staring at the screen, shaking like a leaf. I'd never felt rage and heartbreak hit me in the same second. It was like grief, fury, humiliation, and betrayal all fused into one white-hot brick in my chest. I didn't cry. Not yet. That came later. The confrontation was ugly. And surreal. Like I was outside my body watching it unfold. She came home that night humming, again, like she'd just had the most peaceful meditation of her life. I was sitting at the dining table with the tablet right in front of me. I didn't even try to hide it. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just said, "How long have you been screwing our therapist?" She froze. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. She stammered, tried to laugh it off, said, "What the hell are you talking about?" I turned the screen toward her. Opened her message thread with Adrian Weller. That's when her whole act crumbled. She started scrambling. First it was denial, "These are out of context. You're reading too much into it." Then came the gaslighting, "You shouldn't be snooping through my stuff, Marcus. That's a huge invasion of privacy." Yeah. Apparently catching her cheating was less important than violating her trust. Then, as if she realized that wasn't working, she flipped into victim mode. Cried. Said it just happened. Claimed she felt emotionally abandoned and that Adrian understood her in ways I never could. Let me repeat, she cheated on me with a guy whose entire job is to listen for a living. She even had the audacity to say that the affair was part of her healing journey. I asked her if they'd had sex during our therapy sessions. She didn't answer right away, just stared at the floor, lip trembling. That silence told me everything I needed to know. When I asked how many times, she said, "Twice." You know how they always say if a cheater admits to something, it's half the truth. I knew immediately that twice probably meant 10, maybe more. And here's the worst part, she tried to turn it into my fault. She said, Maybe if you'd opened up more in therapy, none of this would have happened. I laughed. I actually laughed, that kind of bitter, broken laugh you can't control. I said, so let me get this straight. I'm emotionally distant, so instead of talking to me, you decided to sleep with the guy I was paying to help us? She didn't have an answer. Just tears. Crocodile ones. I told her to get out. Pack a bag. Go to a friend's, to her mom's, to her precious, healing, community. I didn't care. She left. And then I sat in that same silence we'd both been pretending didn't exist for months. Except now, it was real. And deafening. The hours after she left were the most hollow of my life. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I just sat there in our living room, surrounded by the wreckage of a life I thought we were building together. The throw pillows she picked out, the wedding photo above the mantel, her fake smile now looked like a goddamn joke. I kept replaying our therapy sessions in my head, like some sad rerun. Every nod Adrian gave me. Every while she lied through her teeth. Every touch of her hand on his shoulder, every word carefully twisted to make me the villain. I felt like the biggest idiot on earth. The next day, I called the therapist's office and reported the relationship. I don't know what I expected, justice? Closure? I got a polite woman on the phone who promised they'd look into it. Right. Like that was going to happen. Adrian had his own private practice, no larger clinic or supervisor to hold him accountable. He was probably too busy banging another vulnerable patient. I considered blowing it up. Posting the screenshots. Tagging his stupid professional Instagram page. But I didn't. I still had some dignity, and honestly, I didn't want to air it out like that. It was too raw. Too personal. She texted the next morning. Said she was sorry for how things unfolded. Unfolded. Like it was some tragic event that just happened, like her panties fell off on accident. She asked if we could talk. I didn't respond. 2 days later, she came back to the house, unannounced. She let herself in with her key like nothing had changed. I was in the kitchen and when I saw her, it was like someone poured ice water down my spine. She looked like a wreck. No makeup, hair a mess, tears already in her eyes. She started talking before I could say a word. I messed up. I know I did. But I don't want to lose us, Marcus. I'll quit therapy. I'll block Adrian. I'll do anything. I just stared at her. You had him in your mouth in the same room where we tried to fix our marriage, I said. She gasped like I'd slapped her. Good. She tried to blame it on loneliness again. How she felt disconnected. How I didn't see her. Said she got swept up in the intimacy of therapy. No. She got swept up in getting off on being admired. She begged to go back to therapy, with a new counselor. Let's fix this. Please. I told her I needed space. That was the most I could give. She left reluctantly, but I could tell she thought there was still a chance. Truth is, I wasn't sure myself. I just knew nothing would ever be the same again. The days that followed were a blur of confusion, rage, and this weird, aching silence that clung to everything in the house. I'd wake up in the middle of the night expecting to hear her breathing beside me, and when I didn't, part of me panicked before I remembered why. I'd walk into the kitchen and instinctively reach for the mug she always used. The same mug she probably sipped from after blowing our therapist. Yeah. That was the soundtrack in my head now. I started isolating myself. I didn't tell anyone at first, not my friends, not my brother, not even my coworker Alex who I usually vent to about everything. I couldn't get the words out without wanting to break something. But then, one night, I cracked. I called my older sister. Told her everything. She didn't even pretend to be shocked. That hurt more than I expected. Her exact words were, honestly, I always thought she had snake energy. Snake energy. Turns out my sister had never liked her. Neither did my mom, apparently. But no one ever said anything because, well, I was in love. And they didn't want to ruin it. Classic. After that, the dam broke. I told a few more close friends. And the responses ranged from, what the actual F*** to, dude, you paid him to screw your wife? The second one hurt. But it was true. Meanwhile, my wife kept texting. Long, dramatic messages full of self-pity and empty promises. She claimed it was over with Adrian. That he'd violated her trust, too. That she'd realized she was in a trauma bond. Give me a break. She said she wanted a second chance. That we owed it to the history we shared. The trips. The wedding. The dreams. All of that. But she never once said, I take full responsibility. It was always us. We. Never just her. That was when something inside me started to shift. The sadness didn't go away, but it started burning into something sharper. Like steel being forged. I wasn't sure where it was taking me yet. But I knew one thing. I didn't want to be married to someone who saw me as a placeholder until someone, more emotionally available, opened their office door. A week later, I told her I wanted a separation. She didn't cry this time. Instead, she got nasty. I honestly wasn't prepared for it. I expected more guilt, more begging, but nope. As soon as I laid down the word separation, she snapped into a totally different person. Cold. Condescending. Almost smug. Oh wow, she said, arms crossed. So you're just giving up? After one mistake? One mistake. I reminded her it wasn't one mistake, it was weeks of lying, sneaking, screwing the man who was supposed to help us, and mocking me behind my back. She rolled her eyes. It wasn't like that, she said. You don't understand emotional connection. You've never understood me. There it was. The clause. She went on a rant about how I made her feel unseen. How Adrian was a mirror to her inner self. How we didn't have chemistry anymore. That one stung. Not because I disagreed, but because I realized she'd been thinking like that for a long time, and just pretending until someone better came along. She called the separation a cop-out, said I was taking the easy road because I was too scared to fight for love. But here's the twist, in the middle of all this, I found out something else. One of Adrian's former clients, a woman I'd never met, messaged me on Instagram. I didn't even know how she found me, but her DM said. You don't know me, but I used to see Dr. Weller. I heard what happened through a friend. Just know, you're not the first. He's done this before. That stopped me cold. We got on a call. She told me how she'd been emotionally manipulated by Adrian during a dark time in her life, how things blurred between therapy and something else. He ghosted her when she pushed back. She never reported it because she felt too ashamed. Suddenly, everything made even more sense. It wasn't just betrayal. It was predatory. My wife hadn't just cheated, she'd walked right into the arms of a man who makes a living targeting people at their lowest. But she didn't see herself as a victim. No. She still thought she was special. Enlightened. Connected. Sickening. The mask had fully fallen. And what was left underneath? Just a selfish, entitled person who only loved the idea of me. Not me. After that revelation from Adrian's ex-client, I felt something inside me finally snap. Not in a dramatic, screaming way, more like a clean break. A clarity I hadn't felt in weeks. I wasn't just mourning the marriage anymore. I was done. This wasn't about saving anything. This was about escaping. I met with a lawyer the next day. Told him everything. The affair. The therapist. The emotional abuse. And he just shook his head like he'd heard it all before. Said we had a strong case for a clean divorce. Document everything, he told me. And don't engage in fights. She'll try to bait you. He was right. That week, she bombarded me with calls and texts. At first, she tried the sweet route, memories, photos, playlists, even that awful poem she once wrote for our anniversary that I pretended to like. Then it turned into guilt trips. You're throwing away 6 years. You're letting one mistake ruin everything. Are you really going to let some jealous client poison your mind? Then came the threats. I'll make this hard for you. I'll tell people you emotionally abused me. And the one that sealed it. If I lose everything because of this, it'll be on your conscience. That's when I knew, I wasn't just dealing with someone who cheated. I was dealing with a manipulator who'd never take ownership for anything. I started sleeping better the moment I blocked her number. Filed for divorce the next morning. The weirdest part? I felt peace. Not relief exactly. More like I'd finally stopped pretending. Like I took off a mask I didn't know I was wearing every day. I saw everything clearly now, the little digs she used to throw in conversations, the way she always made herself the victim, how she'd rewrite history every time we argued. It had all been there. I just hadn't wanted to see it. Until she gave me no choice. I thought the worst was over once I filed for divorce. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, I got served with a counterclaim. She was accusing me of emotional neglect, saying that I pushed her into the arms of another man. Her lawyer had the audacity to call her the emotionally injured party. She wanted spousal support. Let me repeat that. She cheated on me with our therapist, lied for months, and now she wanted me to pay her so she could recover. I almost laughed in court. My lawyer didn't. He warned me to stay calm, play the long game, and let the documentation speak for itself. So we did. We submitted the screenshots. The messages. The report I filed with the licensing board about Adrian. Oh, and that ex-client? She agreed to provide a sworn statement. Turns out he was already under quiet investigation by the ethics board. That opened up a whole other can of worms. Suddenly, my ex's tune changed. She started emailing me instead of texting. All professional. Cold. Not a trace of those "we owe it to our history" lines. She knew it was over. Not just the marriage, but her carefully built image of being the wounded wife. I'd peeled the mask off, and she couldn't glue it back on. In the middle of all this chaos, I did something I didn't expect. I went back to therapy. Real therapy. With someone qualified, professional, and completely separate from the mess. And for the first time, I wasn't there to fix a marriage. I was there to fix me. I talked about the gaslighting. The erosion of trust. How I spent so long doubting my instincts that I forgot what it felt like to believe in myself. One day, my new therapist said, "You weren't being loved. You were being managed." That hit like a truck. Because that's exactly what it was. Every compromise was just me giving in. Every conversation was a performance where she already knew the ending. Every emotion I had was either invalidated or weaponized. She didn't want a partner. She wanted a mirror. And when I stopped reflecting what she wanted to see, she shattered it. Here we are. The final part. I never thought I'd be writing this, especially not on a subreddit of all places, but here goes. First off, if you suspect your partner is cheating, trust your gut. Mine was screaming for months, but I ignored it because I wanted to believe she was just stressed. Don't make that mistake. Second, beware of who you trust with your vulnerabilities. Therapy should be a safe place, but what happens when the person supposed to help you becomes part of the problem? It's a nightmare. If something feels off, don't brush it aside. Third, cheaters lie. A lot. And they get good at it. My wife's lies were so brazen it almost made me doubt reality itself. Keep evidence if you can, texts, emails, anything. It's brutal, but it helps. Fourth, don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking you caused their betrayal. Her blaming me for her affair was one of the worst parts. Cheating is a choice, not a reaction. Fifth, healing takes time. I'm still working on it. Therapy, friends, alone time, whatever it takes. And honestly, it's okay to feel broken. It's okay to be angry. But don't let those feelings chain you. Lastly, no matter what, remember your worth. You deserve respect, honesty, and love that doesn't come with a side of manipulation or lies. I'm not saying I have all the answers. Hell, some days I still feel lost. But I know this, I'm choosing me now. If you're going through something similar, reach out. Find your tribe. And remember, betrayal isn't the end. It can be the start of something stronger, if you let it. Thanks for reading my story. It's messy, painful, and raw. But maybe, just maybe, it helps someone out there feel less alone.